Whether you're in charge of baking Santa Claus's cookies this holiday season, or if you just plain like some sweet treats for the holidays, this recipe is for you. Today we're going to be making some delicious hazelnut cookies, even with some real hazelnuts sprinkled on top. So stay tuned and we will make it together. Let's start by measuring out our dry ingredients. I actually have almost everything already pre-measured because it takes so much time, but I am going to go ahead and measure my flour now. And again, with flour, it's just a lot better to measure by weight as opposed to by volume. So the recipe needs about 300 grams, or if you don't have one of these scales, you can also use 2.5 cups. Okay, I'm gonna then add in my other dry ingredients. So this is some salt, some baking soda, and all the ingredients are going to be down in the description, by the by. Got 2 sticks of butter here, just sitting out for rooming up to room temperature. It's a whole cup of butter that we need. So leave that there, and let's go with the cocoa powder. So what I'm using today is Scharfenberger's unsweetened cocoa powder. Okay, and just give this a quick little mix just to make sure it is about all homogeneous. I'm going to then use this stirrer attachment, and then I am going to add in my sugar. I have 3/4 cup of brown sugar and 1/2 cup of white sugar, or just plain sugar rather. And let this start stirring. Time to now put in the butter. I'm going to try to chop this up a bit so it doesn't just all go down and clump together. So 1 cup of butter. Zoom in a little bit on what this is now looking like. That's just after about 3 minutes of beating, and it looks ready for us to now add in our hazelnut spread. So you can just use plain Nutella, but I just got sort of a store brand and it works just as well. So I'm going to plop this in. Okay, now I let it rip again. Okay, so this is what our dough now looks like. And what I'm going to do is get my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm going to put this into the fridge for now with a lid on, just so that it can chill a little bit before I roll out the cookies. Okay, so it's been about 50 minutes, and I've taken out my dough from the fridge, and I've also poured myself some hazelnuts. These are actually a specialty here in the Pacific Northwest, so we are going to use some of these in our cookie. Some recipes say to mix directly the hazelnuts into the dough before you actually form the cookies. I don't like doing that because I find that when I do that, nuts always settle to the bottom, so the last cookies get the most of the nuts and the other ones just don't. So that's not worth it to me. I'm going to portion out these nuts per cookie on my own terms. So while the oven is preheating to 350 degrees, let's just go ahead and formulate our little cookies. This is super easy. I just make little balls like this. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's going to spread out a little bit. So I still have a little bit of dough left. Doesn't matter. So I'm going to need a third tray, but I wanted to show you guys what I do with these two before I put it into the oven. I've got some nuts here. I'll add more if I need to, but basically just randomly smush some on top. Yeah, let's go for it. Also, does this happen to you where like the cookies get bigger as you make them? That's what happens to me. It seems like I get more and more impatient as I get through my cookies, and so I always start pretty small, and then they get less dainty as time goes on. All right, so our first couple trays of cookies are ready to go into the oven at 350 degrees. We'll leave it in there for about 12 minutes while we work on the next tray. All right, let's take out our cookies and see how they turned out, even though we've peeked at them already. Smells so good. And let's put our second batch in. Okay, it's gonna be really tempting to eat these right away, but you really need to let them cool, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. We'll let it sit for about 30 minutes and then come back to it and then give you the actual taste test. See you in a bit. Waiting for these cookies to cool is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do this month. Not exaggerating. It smells so good. So I am ready to dig in and just take a look at how good they are, because they certainly smell really good. I wish they came out a little bit thicker, but it did sort of seem to flatten out a bit, maybe because the butter wasn't chilled quite enough. But you know what? I bet it's still gonna be delicious. It's a little bit crispy, and yet there's like the thicker parts, they're a little bit chewy, so I like that contrasting texture. And it's just so yummy with the hazelnuts in here. All right, I'm gonna keep on eating these and make sure I save nothing for Santa. All right, I hope you guys give this recipe a try. Happy holidays from our family to yours. Stay safe. See you guys in the next episode of Food Bite.